boys and girls, and welcome to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. I am your host, Kevin Reed, and this is the review of the brand new Disney Plus Marvel Studios, or should I say Marvel Spotlight series, Echo, which dropped its entire 5-episode season on January the 9th on Disney Plus and Hulu. And this character is, of course, based on the Marvel Comics character of the same name, and it is the 10th television show from the MCU. And it's a spinoff of another TV show on Disney Plus from the MCU, Hawkeye, from a couple of years ago. And it sees Maya Lopez return to her hometown where she must come to terms with her past, reconnect with her Native American roots, and embrace her family and community. And in case you don't know what the character Echo is or who the character Echo is, and it's one of those characters that if you're not deep into the comics, you wouldn't know who Echo is, but she is an experienced martial artist and an expert in hand-to-hand combat. She's skilled with acrobatics and, photographic reflexes. She's a beast. She's a beast. And she's also deaf and only has one leg. And that's the character in the comics. Now, if you go deeper in the comics, later on, she develops telepathic powers. I think she could fly. She ended up getting superhuman strength. I think she was a part of the Phoenix Force or something like that. But like I said, that's deep cuts. But this show doesn't really go into that at all. This is a grounded series. And like I mentioned before, the comic book character is deaf and has one leg. We so happen to have a Native American actress who is deaf and has one leg in real life, and that is Allegra Cox, who portrays Maya Lopez, aka Echo, in the television series. And I thought that was like perfect. She literally was born to play this role, and she did a good job. I actually enjoyed her in Hawkeye. The Hawkeye series gets slept on. I don't think a lot of people talk about it as much, but it's really a good show. And this is where we get the introduction to Maya Rudolph in that show. And she did so well, they gave her own show. And I thought that was pretty cool. And so I was kind of excited, but at the same time, I wasn't super excited because, I know of the character, but I'm not immersed in this character, like I am with Batman and Spider-Man, all the mainstream characters. So I couldn't tell you all the ins and outs of the character of Echo, but I did enjoy what I saw in Hawkeye. And this series picks up right after that. I mean, immediately after the events of Hawkeye. And I was all in. I was like, okay, here we go. And like I said, this series is only 5 episodes. 5. And that kind of gave me a little pause, to be honest with you. I'm like, man, there's only 5 episodes. And then I did some research, and they said that they actually filmed 8, but they cut it down to 5 and decided to release it all on one day. Like all of the other MCU shows on Disney Plus, or any show on Disney Plus, it's week to week, like normal television. For those of us who grew up in back in the day, I'm not even going to go to listing dates, but back in the day when you had to wait a week to see the conclusion of what happened the week prior. But this go around, they dumped it all, and that kind of felt like a bad sign. Like they were just trying to get rid of it. They cut the episodes and they just dumped it in January, nonetheless. But still, I'm loyal. I'm dedicated to the MCU, good or bad or indifferent. I'm gonna jump in and see what we got. And I must say, I was impressed. It's a slow. I'm gonna tell you this. It's a slow burn, but it's it's good. I mean, to say that it's 5 episodes, a couple of episodes in there drug so much, I was like, man, this feel like 10 episodes. It's just a slow burn, and not every episode is like that. It's just certain parts. Now, as far as the action is concerned, the hand to hand combat, the fighting, uh, very good. I think the choreography was well done on this show. Uh, the violence was amped up to 11 on this show. Actually, let me take that back. It's amped up to 11 in the terms of Disney Plus. Disney Plus is Disney Plus. You don't see blood and guts and people getting shot in the head and stuff like that too often on Disney Plus, if at all. That's why this is Marvel Spotlight, not necessarily Marvel Studio, because Spotlight is the new branch of Marvel where more mature content will be released. And so this is the first show to do that, and it was hyped up that way. So I was expecting, a bloodbath, but we really didn't get that. Maybe a couple of scenes. Uh, the first episode and that third episode, I believe it was, where you saw some actual blood, but overall, it really wasn't that bloody. They could have just went normal Marvel Studio logo at the beginning and rolled with it. But I see what they were trying to do. The actors, as I said, Allegra Cox, and I'm praying I'm saying her name right, who portrays Maya Lopez, aka Echo, once again did a marvelous job. And I'm saying that as an actual performance. I'm not saying this as a learning curve because she's deaf and has one leg. A lot of people are in awe with the fact that, she did good to say she can't hear and she has to do ASL. But that's not the case. She actually acted, and emoted, and you felt the pain in her performance. You felt joy at moments in her performance. You felt the rage in her performance. All the attributes that character had really came out and came out strong through Allegra Cox performance. Marvelous job. It's always a joy to see Graham Greene on screen. He did a marvelous job as this kind of whistler to her to her blade, I guess you could say. But the real star of this show was Tentu Cardinal. I hope I'm saying her name right. She plays Maya Lopez's grandmother. Oh man, I loved her performance. I loved her performance. I think she stole the scenes she was in, stole the episodes that she popped up in. She gave some powerful performances throughout this 5 episode series. And man, I'm like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. I really I was not expecting that. And kudos to her. The other stealer of this, or thief, I should say, properly, is Vincent D'Onofrio. I mean, as Kingpin. Come on, man. I mean, going back to Daredevil on Netflix, his portrayal of Kingpin has been money. And it just continued on. I wasn't a huge fan of his performance in Hawkeye. It was what it was. It fit the tone of the show, but I wasn't really into it. But this version of Kingpin is the version that we got in the Netflix series, the Daredevil Netflix series. Oh my God, I loved it. Love Vincent D'Onofrio. I love him in anything, really. Going all the way back to Full Metal Jacket and all that. The dude is amazing, and another one born to play this role. Can't wait for the Daredevil series, to at least the new one that they're working on for Disney Plus, where he will return as Kingpin, as well as Charlie Cox as Daredevil. and he popped up in this show, the first episode, in fact, for about 2 to 3 minutes. And it was all right. It was just there to be there. It really was needless. That was the most needless cameo in a show I've seen so far. It was like, okay, he popped up. You know, it felt like a cash grab. That's all it felt like. But the rest of the cast was pretty good. I don't really know the names of them, but they were all Native Americans, which was awesome. And I did love the fact that we got to dive into the indigenous culture here, and really get some representation from that community. And, it felt like, and I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, but it felt like what I felt when I went to see Black Panther. And for the indigenous people in this country to watch this and see their own hero, I think that is pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool to see, and to really dive into their background, the stories, and how everything connects to the past with this character. And I thought it was done well. My problems with this show is, one, the end. I don't like how it ended. The end was kind of cheesy. Not kind of. It was cheesy. It was very, like, convenient. And I didn't understand. Not to get into spoilers. It's hard for me to say, but I don't want to spoil it for anybody. But just know I get what they did. I get it. I just didn't understand it. It's like, why you pick her for this? The history of their people. Why did it go this way with her? It was just like, I didn't really feel that, but I get it. It's Echo. It's the show. She's the main character. That's one thing I didn't like. I also didn't like the fact that it was 5 episodes. I felt like it should have flushed out a little bit more. Now, I did appreciate the fact that we didn't linger on a lot. We got kind of a good backstory on all of the characters. We got some character development on a lot of the characters, and that's good. But it just felt so rushed. And I know that's contradictory to what I was saying. It was a slow burn, but that's just what I'm saying. It was like the pacing was kind of all over the place. It felt rushed in areas and then dragged in others. And it just did not work overall. And I wanted it to work because, like I said, I became a fan of this character from the Hawkeye series. And I wanted this character to succeed because of, like I was saying, the representation. I like to see other characters, different characters. And unfortunately, it didn't quite work the way I was hoping it to work. But I did enjoy it. It's worth a watch. It's not horrible. It's not unwatchable. But I just wish it was a tad bit better. Echo, which is currently on Disney Plus and Hulu, all 5 episodes, gets a letter grade of a C-. Yeah, I wish it was a little better. At least to the point where I was like, oh man, I can't wait to see Echo pop up in XYZ, another MCU property. But after watching this 5 episode series, I was like, okay, well, that's it. I'm good with I'm good with Echo. I don't need to see Echo no more. And it kind of ended that way. But it did. This show does have a post-credit scene at the end of the last episode, in case you haven't seen it. So stay around for that. And it sets up another show down the line. Now, that was exciting, I must say. But other than that, it was what it was. I would like to know if you checked out Echo and what are your feelings about it. Email the show, kbradiopodcast@gmail.com. You could also look up the show on all social media platforms. Just search for the KB Radio Network. Also, subscribe to the KB Radio Network channel on YouTube, and like this video if you don't mind. Don't forget about the 5 stars, the reviews, and sharing this show. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, wherever you are currently listening to the concession stand here on the KB Radio Network. Everybody, thank you for joining me for this review of Disney Plus Marvel Spotlights Echo. I want you all to know that I love you. Continue to love everyone. And until we speak again, you all be blessed.